from Fox, and kind of have to take a few minutes. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. How we doing? I'm doing great, letting the morning coffee work, and all is good in the world. Good to be with you.
This is chaos season for you, isn't it? Is this kind of the stretch of chaos season, juggling both these balls?
Yeah, it's so fun though, Brock. You know that, right? Like it's like baseball every night, and then go fly and do a football game on Sunday, and then come back and do baseball again. It's so cool to be a part of all these big moments, and I just love it. So, like I said, just more coffee. That's the solution to everything for me.
I've said many times, Kevin, that you're one of my favorites. I think you do a great job. I've been talking you up all day, and I don't know whether you're. Well, it's true. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true, but I don't have to blame you or someone at Fox. I think what you're doing is cruel. I think it's not fair.
What am I doing?
I don't know whether you're responsible, so I don't know whether it's you. But the idea of asking these poor guys, poor David, poor Alex, poor Derek, poor Dontrelle, asking them to make predictions for what is going to happen every night, it's cruel. It's absurd. Nobody has any freaking idea what is going to happen next in this or any other series. Why do you make them do that?
And they hate it so much. It's so great. Like the funny thing is like, obviously we try to have a little fun, but also give you a little knowledge too. And if you go back and watch our pregame show last night, the guys got literally everything they talked about happened in the game in terms of like, Vlad doing what he's going to do, what he has to do, and certain things, and just key points of the game, and they got all that right. But the scores, they never get right. The teams, like it's almost like if you're a better. Now, last night I think they split it. I think David had Toronto, and I think actually David had Toronto. The other three picked Seattle. But I swear, you look at that, you'd be like, I'm going to do the opposite. It's amazing. Like so. We get on them now, and they hate predicting because they're so bad on it. But now it's become kind of a fun thing of the show, actually.
Compare and contrast the predictive nature of MLB versus the other sport you cover, the NFL.
I think it's just because it's daily, and there's so much. It is wild how. I mean, look, obviously we see the NFL on a week-to-week basis, and we see games like, how the heck did that happen, or didn't see that coming. Of course, but the thing that's so interesting about baseball that. It's amazing how, one team looks like one thing one night, and then the very next night, it's a complete opposite. It's like amazing, right? I mean, the Blue Jays looked like they were dead in the water, and the team that destroyed the Yankees was just non-existent. And Springer hit a home run game one to lead off the game. And then Julio hits a home run last night. You're like, oh, good night. It's over, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like a finger snaps, and the thing totally changes in the third inning. I think that's what makes it so hard, Brock, is that it's just, from a night-to-night basis, there are so many things that could change. And a reliever slider, which was so great the night before, sucks tonight, and it changes the whole outcome of the game.
You think these wild crowds have any effect on the game?
Not really. I think they do to an extent, right? I think like you can. I think you can get caught up in a little bit of an avalanche for sure when things are going bad, or, I think, you get a play like the Orion Kirkring play for the Phillies against the Dodgers, right? Where it's like, oh my God, I got to make this play, panic, crowds going nuts type of thing. And you throw it to the wrong base. So I do think it has an impact. I think it's great for the home players. And I think, can it get on the visiting players? I think to a degree. I think it has an impact more in football than it does in baseball, because I think football really impacts communication in a big way. I don't want to speak for Brock. He knows better than me. But, just in talking to players that I've talked to, that seems to be the case. And it is funny that, two of the best home teams in the league in Toronto and Seattle seem to win at home early on in this series. It's kind of wild.
Kevin Burkhardt here with us from Fox. The voice, the lead analyst there with Tom Brady up in the Sunday night primetime game each and every week. And now they're on the desk with all the Hall of Famers. Sitting with those guys and maybe even your own research, Kevin, what have you learned about our beloved Seattle Mariners?
Yeah, well, I during the year, I watch as much baseball as I can, hosting the national show. And, for me, from an outsider's perspective, Brock, and, someone who doesn't live there, we've always talked about, my God, this pitching staff is so good. Can they get some hitting? Right? It's always been that way. And this year they did get some hitting, but the staff, the guys were kind of banged up, and they missed a lot of the missed key parts of the season. And so now I think that, those pieces are together. And of course, it would be great if Wu was fully healthy and starting on regular rest like normal. I think it's like you're looking at, okay, starting pitching is not dead yet, right? You're seeing that with the Mariners and the Dodgers. And then, I think the length of the Mariners lineup is what struck the guys. And it's what struck me too, because obviously about Cal. And it's been fascinating, as great as Julio is, that he's, the last couple of years he's taken a back seat to Cal Raleigh, which I think is a good thing for him. But it's the, Polanco's, which we all know was a really, really good player, coming and delivering like he has, which has been insane. Arozarena hasn't really checked in yet, even though he hit the home run late last night. But, you want to see him get involved. I think you just look at their lineup, you're like, man, this is the best lineup they've had in a long, long time. And now with the pitching, minus last night, the way it's been, that's why they've got a chance. So it's just been cool to see it all come together. And obviously, the history there is, to see them in this point, where they've never been and have a chance to go where they've never gone to the World Series is just so cool. And I feel so good for those fans.
So I'm trying to think of where were you in like 2004, 2005, early 2000s? Where were you at that point in your career?
That's a great question. What was I doing then? I think
17,
at that point,
17, 18.
17, 18 years old, of course.
Here's
the reason.
Point I was, what do you got?
If I had told you in like 2005, you're going to be spending all of your days with Tom Brady, Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter, David Ortiz, what would you have said?
It's preposterous. It really makes no sense. If you would have told the kid in me, if you would have told the adult in me, years ago before this all happened, that this was going to be a thing. We had a dinner a couple weeks ago. We were doing a Chargers game on Sunday, and we were here for the baseball. So our whole conglomerate was at dinner. Baseball and football was really a lot of fun. And I'm just sitting there at the dinner, and I'm next to all these guys, and I'm just like, man, how lucky am I? How crazy is this that I'm just, sitting at dinner and shooting the breeze and sharing stories with these guys who are my friends and my coworkers. And it's just, I appreciate every second of it, but it doesn't make any sense. Doc. It does not.
I mean, it's really remarkable. And I left one guy off there, and shame on me, because I actually think Dontrelle Willis, as an analyst, is as good as anybody out there. I love him on the Apple broadcast when he was doing those. I think he's a great, great baseball color analyst in terms of mixing some humor with some real information. What have you learned from him? Because he's sort of the one guy who comes at it from a different perspective, the pitching side. What have you learned from Dontrelle being around him?
I covered him. When I worked for the Mets, I was a reporter for the Mets for years, and so he played for the Marlins. So I knew him when he was a player, and I always loved him then because he was, he was smart and he had a great personality, and he just had that fire, like every time he pitched. And so when he came in starting to do TV, we had a little bit of a relationship to start, and then we just hit it off. And he has worked his butt off to be good at this. He's not just come in and like, oh, let me talk pitching and go home. He comes in, he's got a notebook full of notes. He's talked to people. He's watched all these games. And, quite honestly, as amazing as our guys are, and they're connected and they're great and they're obviously Hall of Famers, I think, D-Train is so important to the show because he gives us pitching perspective, and he knows what it's like to be on the mound. He knows exactly what the guy's going through, and he knows what happened to George Kirby last night. I love him a lot, like a brother. And it's just cool because he's worked so hard. The analyst thing, he got asked to do it, and he was a little apprehensive. And I was like, hey, man, you should do it. You'd be really, really good at it. I was like, it's a lot of work, but you have no aversion to work. So you should do it. And now he loves it. And it's pretty cool. You guys know, there's not a lot of guys that are good as both a studio and a game analyst. That's hard to do. And he's, I think, mastered it.
Hey, KB, couple final questions here. I'm going to shift one to football in just a second. But curious from your perspective, I think I have my reasons. Salk has his reasons. Lyle and Mora have their reasons. I'm curious from your perspective as you go to all these different markets in baseball and football, and you get to experience their fan bases. And if it's been once, it's been 100 times. You've talked about the 12s and the Seahawks fans, as everybody does, sitting in that broadcast booth on the 50-yard line of just how unbelievably electric it is. T-Mobile has been the exact same way with 47,000 crazies that didn't leave in that 5-hour affair and hardly sat down. From an outside perspective, why do you think this fan base is as rabid as they are?
Because I think, nationally they get overlooked. Now, if you're someone as lucky as me who's done 1 million games there and knows how great it is, it's not overlooked. But I think, you guys know this, Seattle's this beautiful place. It's tucked in the corner of the country. And I could speak to this as an East Coast person growing up when I didn't travel and my family didn't have any money. Seattle might as well have been Mars to me. Right. So, and I think quite honestly, there's a lot of people on that side of the country that feel the same way. If they happen to do travel west, maybe they're going to California or they're going to Arizona, but most people don't go to Seattle, sadly, as beautiful as it is. And so they don't ever get to see it. So deep down in my soul, I always feel like when I come, it's like everyone kind of saying to the rest of the world, like, look how great this place is. Because that's how I feel when I come up there. I love coming to Seattle. I don't get to do it enough. And I have, especially recently. So hopefully we could change that in a few days and get up there for the World Series. But that's always been my feel. And it's always, as a Northeast and someone who grew up in the Northeast, it's always had that Northeast sports vibe to it. It really does. I think it's on the same wavelength as that with the passion and the noise. And I don't think there's many other places in the country like it.
Are we going to get you for some Seahawks games at some point this year? I mean, if they keep playing well, we're going to have to get you at some point, right?
Dog, I love it, man. Right now, no, I don't know everything we've got the rest of the year. Like we have some of the America's games of the week, which are kind of locked in unless something crazy happens. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I hope so. I mean, they're playing great, right? I haven't sat down and watched an end-to-end Seahawks game yet. I've seen parts and I've seen clips. I saw some of that wild Tampa-Seattle game, which was really, really nuts. But hey, you got to like when an offense and defense are top 6 in the league, huh? That's pretty good. Last time I checked, and I'm just so happy for Sam because, last year was such a revelation for him getting opportunity, and it was great. And unfortunately, he had the 2 toughest games of the year for him at the end of the year. So getting to kind of prove that he's the real deal, and it is awesome in an offense that's really clicking. And I think Minnesota misses him big time.
Well, we won't ask you to predict anything because obviously that's not going well.
Really, we're not good at it.
Yeah, we're just not good at it. So we're not even going to go down that road. And people hear a little, yesterday didn't sit well with a lot of our listeners, not surprisingly. So let me just ask you this to maybe raise the mood a little bit, and then we'll let you go. What is your favorite thing about postseason baseball?
I was actually having a conversation with my wife about this. And I think the beauty of postseason baseball is, there's ebbs and flows in the baseball season, and you have fans that are diehards that watch every single minute. You have fans that come and go, and they watch here and there, or the team gets hot and they watch, or the team gets cold and they're out, that type of thing. And it's a commitment. It's a big commitment. But I think the beauty of it, even for me, who's in this, awesome position, being around these guys and watching these shows, is every pitch is like you just don't know what's going to happen, and you live and die by it. I mean, I was talking about that dinner, Mike, when hanging with all these guys, but watching the games with them, it's the same way. It's cool for me to turn to my left and see like A-Rod and Poppy and Derek Jeter and D-Train like jumping off the couch when like Julio hits it out, or there's a big pitch for a strikeout. That's the cool thing, which you don't get. Like regular season, you're sitting on your couch, you're relaxing. Maybe you got friends over, you're talking, you're quasi paying attention, you're scrolling on your phone. Postseason baseball, you're not scrolling on your phone. You're barely talking to your friend. You're just locked into every pitch. I don't think there's anything like it. That's what's awesome to me.
And Fox covers it really well and does such a good job of showing the anxiety in the crowd. I mean, every single game, Fox finds the most anxious people in the crowd, and we get the close-ups, and I love it. I laugh every time because I'm one of them.
Can I ask you guys a question? I always love coming on and shooting the breeze with you guys, so I enjoy this. But give me a little insight here. So I know that y'all have been doing like the shoe on the head rally thing for a couple of years. But I need to know. I feel like when we show these, sometimes those shoes are clearly not that person's shoe. Like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, there is no way that guy wore that shoe into the stadium. That shoe looks like it's 35 years old.
You think there's some
So
phony shoe work?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, do you agree? It feels like, do they pick them up on the way into the stadium? I don't know. I feel like there needs to be some detective work there.
Well, Kevin, there's some quirky neighborhoods in the Pacific Northwest.
That's for sure.
So
People coming in from Fremont, and they may have extra shoes that they bring just for that.
Where you guys stay when you come to town, you're not in some of the quirkier parts of town where they do wear those shoes quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, no, I think those are kind of the real article. Kind of the real gems.
Brock, are you putting that on your head? Is the sole of the shoe touching your hair when you're at the Mariners game?
Have you seen Brock's hair? There's no chance he would let that happen.
I'm not.
That's why I'm asking the question.
I wouldn't do that. Yeah, that's not my cup of tea. But you want to get to Pioneer Square. You want to get to Capitol Hill. You want to get up north to Fairhaven. Do a lot more than that. Do a lot more than put their scrummy old shoe on top of their heads.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kevin.
This is what I need. I need the real insight. This is why I asked the question. This is why you guys are the best.
I mean, we've been mostly just debating whether or not Humpy would keep winning after the big Game 5 win in the salmon race. So,
what happened there? He's totally turned his legacy around.
Yeah, and I think the Moose is now a little upset too. I mean, the Moose has been sort of passed over. Everyone's talking about Humpy. They've sold out of all Humpy gear at the pro shop. So, I mean, things are in flux here, Kevin.
So we've jumped the shark. Humpy won. We decided to keep it going, and now maybe after last
night,
Humpy
should never win again.
Take a big L.
He should have retired.
Never win again.
Go out on top, man. You win one, just go out on top. Kevin, thank you so much. Really appreciate all the time you give us, and hopefully, yes, we'll see you here in another couple weeks for the World Series. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'd love to see you guys. Hopefully, we get to do it. I'll talk soon.
There you go, the great Kevin Burkhardt. I seriously, man, I think he is awesome. He is right there in that category for me of not just the best people at their job, but some of the best guests, along with Tirico, Buck, all those guys who are at the very, very top of their game. He has taken that #1 spot at Fox and just totally, he's awesome.